Hello, NCBCA. Welcome to another podcast. I'm your host, Coach Sexton, and I'm here with Coach Crom today. We are going to be doing a recruiting retrospective and a look at the top 25 as it stands before CPR. Coach Crom, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Sexton. I feel like on one hand, you need just an introduction coming off an historic championship run that saw you. I mean, I'm no historian of the NCBCA, but to capture that in your third year, folks out there, give it up for the growing legend. And then maybe on the other hand, you need no introduction. We've heard you on this podcast. We've seen your prowess on the recruiting trail and in the Sims. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. Excited to get going.
Oh, I appreciate that, Crom. You are no slouch yourself, especially with winning number 2, right? This year.
Oh, sheesh.
Very hard battle. How did you feel about it going in?
Oh, it was Plock is just a behemoth, just a legend out there, and I'm humbled. Not to bite off your Midwestern flow, but it's definitely it was exciting and it was cool. Yeah.
Really, it was. That's one of the biggest coups of the cycle, I'd say. Besides Virginia. Number 1, also over Plock. That was a big battle as well. And perhaps number 21, James Russell. What did you think about that one? That one went to how many votes again?
What was that? That was
votes?
Like 3-2-1-1-1. And
just
I think
insane
Marcus
quality
was out
from everyone.
Yeah. Marcus was out by the time it happened, so like had Marcus been in on him, I don't know, we might have needed like 10 votes or something. But I mean, having Tommy right in your backyard, coming with that kind of heat is, it's intimidating. But we're out here, we're gonna see. I think that I'm hinting at the recruiting retrospective. There's just an incredible landscape out there, and yeah, I mean, you were no slouch yourself with the Ronaldo Barnes signing. I thought that was a crazy pitch battle to read between you and Cam, who was back with a vengeance. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're getting into it, but some of these battles were pretty wild.
Oh yeah, I mean, I counted myself out of 8 when I read Cam's pitch. I was like, oh well, he kind of killed it on Tulane, and I mean, you would know Tulane the best, obviously. What did you think of how he did?
Yeah, I mean, JP comments will come out, and maybe this is like a trailer, but I thought that what I saw from Cam on like the basketball front was like super impressive and just like reflected he knew everything in the export like the back of his hand. But I thought the same was true of you, and I think that the way the storyline went, it was almost de-emphasizing like our traditional understandings of winning and playing time, like in favor of how well do you know it. And I thought that like where the real distinction was on education and what was the other trait that he was big for? Campus life. That just your knowledge, like the way you work at Kansas with just like the knowledge that you bring to it. I thought you like transplanted that to Clemson. So I mean, no knock against Cam, who like is an incredible writer, but I thought that's what tipped the scales for me.
Well, I appreciate that, Crom, but we don't have to talk about me this whole time.
Well, but maybe half the time, yeah.
Was there any? Were there any battles that surprised you?
I thought I'm going to scroll through this right here. I thought Hawaii had a phenomenal pitch for number 3, and I thought seeing them fill up and seeing that sort of like fall into Shelb's lap was interesting. I think that it surprised me like on 19 on Anthony McDonald where we saw Pork drop the pitch beforehand. I thought that was that ended up being a really interesting battle with Iowa State. And I shut off my JP brain for a while.
I mean, 19, I was somebody I targeted long before the cycle started, and I
forgot you were in
defense. I mean, when Port comes out and has the best defense in recent memory, And the trait is wants to play for a defensive team. That was going to be a hard one to win. So I did not drop the DVs on that one because I figured I could use them better elsewhere, and I turned out to be wrong, of course. But that was basically a shoe-in for him at that point because he can make everything else work. He's a very good writer.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you got a chance to see TJ Sims, the music GT, but I thought that was that's one of my favorite battles I've ever read and ever judged.
I didn't actually. Who did what album or whatever did they pick?
So TJ Sims was a Tennessee commit, and I'm kicking myself for not remembering the album that Noonan wrote about, but just the framing of it, sort of the emotional resonance and the way he weaved into the story, what it meant to him as a kid, was phenomenal. He was up against a phenomenal pitch from Brood on Hamilton. He was up against a phenomenal pitch from Cam. He was up against a truly wonderful pitch from Joseph, who didn't DV and I think might have been out at the time it dropped. But
this was TJ Sims, you said, yes?
Yeah, but it was crazy, and go check that out if you haven't. It's just wild storyline writing. I thought Baggs' pitch there was incredible with the bad brains. So definitely
okay.
If
His
I had to
record,
pick,
the record he chose was Spiderland by Slint.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to confess right now, I have absolutely no idea what that is, but the deep cut is probably a tiny bit more powerful than an album everyone knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, Cam was in there with Good Kid, in that city.
As you say, he just goes for it and just talks about how it's meant to him so much. That's awesome.
It was awesome. I was really enjoyed reading that battle. And TJ Sims went up +4. We love a Tulane just bucket getter, and hopefully his NBL career is long and fruitful. And I will only take a little bit of credit for that. But I'm curious to hear what battle stood out to you.
Well, see, the thing is that I was kind of sort of in on a lot of these, and I think 26, which I was in on, was another very interesting one, based on who was in on it. It was me, Zachel from Cincinnati, FRW from Pitt, and the returning Emelsh at Colorado. That was a really interesting battle. I'm sure it wasn't an easy vote. And then Emelsh comes back a triumphant return right there. So that was a very interesting battle to be a part of, for sure.
Yeah, I had you winning 26.
Oh, did you? Well.
Yeah, totally.
Oops.
Check out. Huge plug for JP Comments, but yeah, I thought that was a crazy.
Oh, battle. I can't wait for JP Comments. I never can. It's awesome. It's I need to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Zach did the whole video breakdown on that. So that's another cool dimension. I think is just the buzzer on this cycle was some of the most I can remember, and for a good reason. I think the league's in a really good place, and just a crazy amount of great writing out there. So yeah, but I'm stepping on your analysis. If there's anything else you want to shout out in terms of pitch battle.
Oh no, that's all the really interesting ones we already know about. 1, 2. You could argue 4, 3, 4. Really, everyone really high was highly publicized. What about 9?
Let me see. It was 9.
For that's Grig or Gribsby, whoever, right?
Yeah.
Where Providence steals the Illinois legacy.
Sola. That's tough.
That's very tough. Sorry, Ghost.
Yeah, sorry, Ghost. I'm wishing Ghost all the best at
better luck at Iowa. I'm sure he will have.
Yeah.
But that's really all my interesting ones. Did you notice any interesting high 4s, or even I know there was a because again I was in on it. There was a walk-on battle for the top-rated or top ranked walk on. No PWO, no nothing, just walk on.
Yeah, you can't let that happen. Just as a coach out there, I think
Yeah,
the
no,
value
he
from
can't.
it, yeah.
I blew it.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
seriously,
walk-ons
it's
can be.
PWOs on down to 170, and then 151 was just a walk on. Whoops.
It's like not dropping visits on like one.
And
But
then the
hey,
other
I
thing,
mean,
the other really interesting one, there was a 3-1 vote on 156 Larry Pasco that ends up going to Nebraska, and he progged really well. I mean, he looks pretty solid. Remember, if anyone that paid attention would know that I almost had a scholarship on this guy and rescinded about the 18th hour or so. So
it is a
like,
crazy
it might
build.
not be worth it. But he pulled through with, I believe, a double visit over Virginia, who had a whole pitch and everything, and probably would win with those values.
Nebraska was the only school to beat Brock, right?
That
This
beat,
cycle?
yeah, actually, I think that might be true. Virginia
Well,
was undefeated except for on this random walk-on, which is kind of nuts.
yeah.
But I guess that's what
Uh,
happens if you use your DVs on walk-ons, right? But anyway.
Yeah, that's Hey, but I mean, looks like the right walk-on to use.
Yeah, pick the right guy, absolutely. So,
I
can't
think
fault it.
one impression, like zooming out from the sheet and just looking at like the scope of the league, is like when I got involved, when I got started, the conventional wisdom was like Texas was the hardest place to coach. You had like Jay Yost at A&M, and you had like Podku at Rice, you had Woody at TCU, and it was just this gauntlet where like good luck, you have like all these elite coaches around you.
Hmm.
And I think like since then, like since the early 2060s, late 2050s, like we're witnessing like all of the NCBCA like start to look like Texas. I was thinking about this like in terms of the Midwest, where like you have Marcus like not missing a beat at Xavier. Obviously, you have Kansas, the reigning national champions. But you've got like Plock at Purdue and Dig in Indiana. You've got like FRW's like one of my favorite new young writers over at Pitt. You've got Zach coming up at Cincinnati. And just like, I know I'm missing like a bunch of people who are also just like killing in this Midwest. You have Hale at Michigan, who's like one of
Gag.
the best writers.
You mentioned Gag.
You've got Gag, who we have to get into Gag.
We
Just,
will,
like,
yes, I
absolutely
know.
Killing it this cycle.
But
like, you look at the East Coast too. You got like the Southeast where you have like Brood going up against like Brock, and you got Bags coming up there. And then you get up the coast to like Timmy, and Cordy had a phenomenal cycle. I think like it's just so much harder to like own your turf.
that's absolutely true.
Being as a coach who woke up last year and now I share a state with Tommy. So I think that it's phenomenal for the health of the league. It makes the league really interesting. I think like we had some pitch battles with like Jackman going up against Shell, which was wild, out there out west. To say nothing of like the work L's doing. So I think like the league's in a really good spot, but it's also like next cycle there's going to be like 60 coaches who can like rightfully expect that like they could win a 5-star, and like we're gonna have bloodbaths for like years to come. So like,
oh yeah, like it's
competitive juice.
it didn't start out this way, but it seemed to me in day one, maybe day two, that is like, wow, this cycle seems a little more chill, and then it just got down and dirty after that, and became exactly what we all thought it was going to be. It has not. The intensity has not dropped at all since I joined in, I guess, the 2062 recruiting. And, it's only... The steep hill is only getting steeper in competition. And yet, I mean, I just finished my my article for the Tribune on the Big 12, like a Big 12 preview. And there's just some of the previously basement-dwelling schools are making like sneaky little moves. I look at the commitments, and I see Southern Methodist SMU making little sneaky moves. 87th recruit, 85th recruit, 75th recruit. Like, that's going to pay dividends in a couple of years. He's making sneaky little moves like this down here. Drake, Caleb nabbed 84, 82, and then just really, he took Elson, the 54th guy, and then where is he? Triggs, 38. Like, Caleb's very happy about Triggs.
Oh yeah.
And it looks like that guy's going to be really good for him. It's all of a sudden the Big 12's middle is like lifting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like
I think
every little school has a shot if they make sneaky little moves like these two schools did. There's more. It's not just them. They just came to mind because I just wrote this article. But
quintessentially, like New Mexico has to be like the best example of this, where like they have better depth than like some of these blue bloods.
They do.
And it's just Jay just like going to the well every cycle and just like getting solid players. And I think like you look at teams coming up, like Loyola's going to be just like incredible this year, and that's just like a couple more years down the line. Like Wake Forest is like 9th in the country in talent, and it's just like following that process.
And Wake, I can't help but notice how similar Wake's strategy is to mine last season. So good luck to you. What is he? We'll get to it, but if he's in like top 10 in talent, but not top 5, that looks really good for you, buddy. But Loyola is in this excellent position of hitting their window right now, and they just got a 5-star that will continue.
Yep.
You know, that'll keep the window open longer. That's just an excellent situation that they've put himself in.
But buy your tofu stock now because it's going through the roof.
Your what? Sorry.
Your tofu stock.
Oh yeah, buy
Coach
it.
Of
Yeah,
Loyola,
absolutely.
yeah.
It's only going to go up to the moon. And yeah, again, UNM, smart move. This I would consider them a winner this cycle. Getting one GT to lead your team of solid guys out there. That's not a bad decision at all. And I think they have the potential to make some moves this year too, just based on the nice little cycle they had. So
Jay's tugging at the heartstrings with two dudes named Stanley.
I know it's Stanley and Stanley, the law firm, and then you got Spicer and Stanley Pepper.
Heck yeah.
There's with all the talk about synergy, they've got name synergy at UNM.
Absolutely, that's underrated in the locker room.
Absolutely. So
yeah.
If do you have anything else that really interested you in general about this past recruiting cycle, or?
No, I mean I think the parity and just the depth of good writers out there is going to make it interesting and difficult going forward. So I think like we've already started to sort of get into the top 25 preview. But I think if you want to take it away with that, I'm ready to go.
Well, I wanted to go to a bit of a winners and losers kind of deal here.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we're gonna do this. I'll give a winner. You give a winner, and then we'll give a loser and then a loser, and we'll see how far we go on that. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So my winners. One of my winners this cycle was VCU, because they went out and got 4 excellent transfers to keep their streak going here of staying at the top of the Big 12. 2 JUCOs, 2 GTs. Like, it doesn't get that much better than that if you want top talent. And they all progged pretty well. So, big winning cycle for VCU. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
One of the guys I wanted, one of my old Irvine guys, yeah. It's too bad. I did not expect that. That's another good one. I was like, oh, all I got to do is beat Iowa State. This will be easy. And then at the last second, boom, VCU drops DVs and Memphis drops DVs. Like, oh my God, seriously? For this guy?
I mean, you can't count ATR or Dan out on the JUCOs like that. I think like those guys never rebuild. They're always just really good.
Oh, always
VCU
reloading.
especially.
Yeah.
So like 4 straight conference championships. Yeah, it's built on the backs of just like getting JUCOs over and over, and just ATR targets builds well. I have no doubt that he's gonna like trot out another great defense and be really tough again. So yeah, absolutely agree. Huge win.
All right, so let's hear a loser from you.
Oh, you want to be on a loser?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sort of prefaced this earlier talking about the Midwest, but Midwestern schools, it's tough. Marcus gets out, leaves Iowa, just goes to Xavier, doesn't miss a beat, and then in a region that already had some of like the established blue blood coaches. I thought Doom's writing was incredible at ISU. I think that Zach, if he doesn't snake to Maryland, is going to be a problem at Cincinnati. FRW I thought was phenomenal. Continues to be just a great writer. And then you got to worry about Dan down south, and just this resurgence of Gag. Which if you're newer to the league and just like no Gag is like this fun guy who comes in with the boot of Photoshops, you're right, but he's also a killer. And we saw that this cycle. And I just think like if you coach in the Midwest and want to get to greener pastures where you're not up against like 6 elite coaches on each recruit, to say nothing of your work, Sexton, in Kansas, and how you're just going to be a nightmare. It's tough out here.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree. It only gets rougher out in the Midwest. But speaking of the Midwest, like one of the Midwest schools here was a big winner, but another one was not. They missed out on someone big that they could have had easily, and that for me that's Michigan State. And for that matter, Michigan too. Hale didn't recruit. I won't say anything about it because you never know what's going on. But Threes was out here recruiting, and not having something prepared for 7 was maybe a bit of a miss, especially with how that went out. Because you with a 5 loc in Michigan, you probably could have put up a fight against Plock, who did end up needing him. He may not have ended up needing him if you were looking at it at the beginning of the cycle, but you definitely win the 5 location, and you know Threes can write, so I feel like it could have been a actual battle instead of what it ended up being. So
Yeah, I think Michigan State looks good going into this year. I think they'd certainly look better with Walker.
oh yeah.
Having sat in that chair and this thought like, okay, well, I might be able to win location over Flock, but he's just this beast pitching prestige and winning and pro potential. I know that can be tough, but I think the way you sort of set up a window for yourself is by winning a tough battle and finding yourself with a star. And for those of you young bloods, I think Threes is a really good coach and puts together some really good offenses in like the early 2060s, late 2050s. I like to think we're headed back there. He's even spicier in the chat when he's winning, but yeah, I think he would look better with Walker.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get to a winner.
Please.
And I think the University of Massachusetts at Amherst has to be just doing jumping jacks with the recruiting class that QWERTY brought home. I think that you can sort of see it set up with his rival Timmy having just the one scholarship open, but winning 17 and 18 and just locking down a future on the perimeter with Mark Smith and the post with Boris Schmidt. You gotta love just winning those 2 5-stars in like a pretty commanding way with some pretty awesome writing, I thought, from QWERTY, who's just like remains at the top of his game. They grabbed a couple high fours, 47, 51. And I just thought, they're set up to win like a ton more ACC championships if they want to. And I thought that was in a cycle where we're seeing like a lot of newer coaches sort of like come into their own, for UMass to like lay down the law like that. I thought was really cool.
I'd agree with that. It's the sneaking into lower 5 stars is, or I mean, I guess they're middle of the pack, but 2 more maybe, less heralded 5 stars. It's still a great strategy.
Sure.
I'll attest to that. It wins championships. On that subject of winning a bunch of 5 stars, Gag comes out and kills it here. 5, 16, and what's the other one? Oh, 23. Yikes. That's really scary.
Yep.
And I mean, just out of nowhere, drops God on everyone on number 5. Just a
he got biblical a
couple
times.
And I saw it, and I saw his pitch, and I was like, well, I'm not winning this guy. That's a waste. Oops. Dang. I mean, going into Iowa, I don't know if he does that, if Marcus is still there. So it all really just kind of it all just kind of came together, I think, for Gag this cycle.
Including the plus 16 prog from Mike Thomas.
Oh, yeah. And then we'll talk about the luck, exactly. Like, just what a dream cycle, and we'll see Creighton in the NT top tiers for a while now, I think.
Forward to it. I can get into one more winner. And there's, I guess, there's plural winners. I thought the second-year coaches brought it this cycle. I got into, I've talked about Noonan on TJ Sims and just how I thought that was, like, perhaps the best pitch of the cycle. I've talked about FRW, who, like, showed out last year, and just continued his great writing, I thought. 877 didn't recruit at Georgetown, but that's just because his roster was already stacked with, like, young talent. I thought Zach brought it. I thought at Rutgers with College Madden looked great. And I thought Fallon set himself up well for future success at Arkansas. So I think that, like, the future of the league is in good hands.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. All these second-year coaches are putting together. They're going to learn from everything that happened this cycle, and they're going to be better from it, too. And they're already pretty good, so...
And it's sort of the scary combination of, like, as you get your pro potential up and you're winning up and your prestige up, your writing's getting better too. So, like, when you sort of project the growth out,
oh, exactly.
I have to mention Doom in a new location as well, just looking great. So the sort of growth on the values and, like, how to pitch the values wouldn't surprise me if we see, like, a Hall of Famer in that 2064 class, whatever 2 years ago was.
All right. Well, I mean, that sounds pretty good to me on this buy or sell segment. The cycle is over, and we better get over it because the season's coming, right?
Yep.
Let's talk top 25 right now. So, starting at the bottom, Louisville, UMass, Duke, Oregon State, Kansas. That's 25 to 21. Are any of these teams, in your opinion, good enough to break out and move up in the AP during the season, or are they stuck at around a 6 seed?
I'm looking at Oregon State with 11 players. They got kind of a god prog out of their GT. I think they've got some really nice talent, and I think, like, they profile to be really good at the defensive end with some 3-point shooting. And I think if Gabe can fill that out a little in CPR, they might shoot up in talent, like, immediately. And I think that they'd be set up for perhaps a deeper run, maybe some upsets, or just getting into the driver's seat in the NT. And then you look at obviously those are like some really storied programs, like Kansas and Duke and Louisville. Not to mention UMass, who I just mentioned as a winner of the cycle. So I think like, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked just sort of like on reputation to see those teams shoot up. If I had to name another team, I think I might go with Louisville, just with how Pi has targeted like these athletes, and I think to see them win a lot of games like 55-54, and you look up at the end of the year and they're like 27-7, I wouldn't be shocked.
Okay, let's. I'll move on slightly here. Pittsburgh, Hawaii, UNLV, Texas Tech, and then VCU going 20-16. Anyone you really like?
Yeah,
them. That's a lot of PCC so far.
Surprise, surprise. I mean, it's nice to see UNLV up here.
Yeah,
shout
actually,
out
I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm curious who stands out to you. I mean, I look at VCU and I think like their ability to punch above their weight is pretty well documented. I like the depth, and yeah, I think this team should weather injuries reasonably well. And
out of these,
in the absence,
I really like Hawaii. Hawaii is always really scary. They're scary, but also I think it's because they're a bit of a wild card sometimes. They always look good, and sometimes they'll play above it, but sometimes they'll play below it. So any team in the PCC just kind of beats up on everyone else, and like it's a team around this. I'd worry about Hawaii and maybe like an Oregon State dropping out of an NT because they took too many close L's in the PCC. So
yeah,
it's something to watch out for.
I think there's definitely going to be a team that misses the conference that misses the NT in the PCC. That's surprising. I will note that like looking at Hawaii's roster, they're going to be so stacked next year. They don't lean on seniors. They're going to be if they can like not get bit by that early entry bug, this could be like a top 5 team next year.
Certainly. Okay, next 5 is Gonzaga, Loyola, Houston, Indiana, LSU. The interesting ones to me, Houston, Loyola. I'm a big fan of Loyola this year. Really, really big fan. And next year probably too. But they've got star power, they've got depth, and I think they can win the Big 12 this year. But the other impressive school in this range is LSU. Crazy progs for them. Good job. And this is what, Tommy's second or third season there too?
Yeah.
That's another quick turnaround. That's impressive. Good for him. And again, that's let's see, he is the 1, 2. Oh, well, and he's still only the 4th best team in the SEC, which is also kind of nuts. Considering how good of a cycle and prog he just got.
Yeah, I mean, look at
friggin'
Russell going plus 13.
Yeah.
Clearly, I like LSU. But getting into this range, I mean, I think the league sort of expects Indiana to find its way into a Final Four. And after Diggs' track record, and I really like the depth. I think like they can roll like 6 deep with guys who are 70 and up. I think they have like a lot of good role players beyond that who can hit threes and play some D. And I like sort of like the skill mix here. And then I'm looking at they have like one starter who doesn't have the 3-point badge, and he's going to play some nice point guard, Justin Skelly. So I think that
all right,
their lack of star power they make up with just this incredible depth and chemistry.
I mean, there is the 2 schools of thought there. It's like, do you want, a top 6 that is just crazy and then you don't have much depth besides it, which, by the way, is exactly what I had last year, or do you want just a ton of just solid players like the New Mexico. It'll be interesting to see how that goes, especially you got two UNM coaches here, former UNM or former and current, that have the exact opposite strategy, if that's what you're saying about Indiana. So that's an interesting. That would be an interesting matchup in the NT if it happened.
Love to see that. Mods, make it happen.
10 through 6. This is who I would consider our. You start on the watch out for the title train this year. TCU, this is the top-rated Big 12 team. You got Wake, Virginia, Xavier, and Florida. And I mean, that's now we're cooking with gas once we get up here. Wake's very scary. They got a lot of old, experienced guys. Virginia, big star power. Xavier didn't miss a beat, and Florida, just crazy defense. Like, any of those 5 teams can win the championship, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see some, higher ranked team, to see a Purdue or a BC or a Georgia go up against Florida, shoot 21 to 60, and just be out of it. I think we've seen Pork put that together before. Shout out to Woody at TCU, coming off a tough sort of specific recruiting cycle for him because he's Texas only, to put together this team. TCU could take it home, could absolutely win the Big 12, and perhaps more. And I think it was a critical year for Marcus at Xavier to not let us put off the gas. Really. Yeah. And I think
I think he did so. Absolutely.
Yeah. If he takes it home, it's going to be on the strength of B. Thomas's old guys, but he's laid the foundation to be really good into the future.
Sure, and it's not like some of those guys that he got this year aren't going to contribute.
No, for sure.
Yeah, no, he's done a very good job so far, and he will have to continue it to really cement a legacy there. But he's on the right track already.
Definitely.
But really, Florida scares the hell out of me. They might be my championship pick.
Yeah,
right now. We'll get to that later. Maybe they might be. We'll find out.
As long as we're talking,
top 5 are UCLA. Some school, is it Tulane? What the hell is that? Purdue, Georgia, and Boston College. So any of these teams stick out to you?
I think Tulane or Paper Tigers. I wouldn't be surprised to see a first-round upset there. Perhaps at the hands of if North Carolina could sneak in or something.
Oh, North Carolina is going to beat this Tulane. What's a green wave exactly? I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Is that an animal?
Yeah, I'll tell you who's an animal is Shelb. I think that you want to talk depth. He's got 70s to spare, and I think
I've actually seen. Oh, and an 80.
Star power that Dick can't post.
Wow.
So I mean, I think the mix of really good guard play and
this is a very
this is just a lot of really good guard play. Honestly, I mean, maybe the blueprint against UCLA is to beat them up inside, but you can't get in a track meet with these guys. This is scary.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 70 pluses. One of those is an 80. Yep. Dang, that's sneaky. I didn't even notice that until now. Wow. Yeah, that's a really scary team right there.
Yeah, and then the contrast between Purdue's team that wants to maul you and take you inside with 78 center, 77 center, and just ridiculous length and rebounding and rim protection on this team. That could be sort of hellish to play against, and maybe a Florida killer, because I know Florida with that perimeter defense.
If I may say so myself, if I can go meta into real life here.
Sure.
This looks a lot like Purdue's real lineup from last season.
It does.
Wow, that's a lot of big guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just looking at it, I would pick UCLA over this team. But they both do look very scary to anyone else. That's for sure. Let's take a look at Tulane here. The best player in the league? Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Recruit your high fives, eat your vegetables, and then you end up with this absolute monster of a player.
Well, hold on a second. You have 280s? You monster.
Yeah,
that might be even more scary, actually.
I think the supporting cast is really suspect. I really do.
I guess, but I mean, again, last year I had 70 pluses, and everyone else was like 50 something, and one of those 70s got hurt before the tournament. So, like, the really crazy top end talent, like you have an 83 and an 81, and I would be surprised that's not 2 top 5 players in the entire league. Like, that's...
I think it's 1 and 5, yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. And that might just be too much. Those 2 guys can just take over. But then let's look. We haven't seen Georgia yet. Georgia. Wow, I'm looking at Georgia and I'm underwhelmed a little bit. 5 70 pluses, and that's it. There's a 79, 78, 76, 75.
I'm seeing
74.
his top
is underwhelming to me. I don't know.
All right, I'm going to make...
They're obviously getting a talent bump because they're 3 over the roster limit right now. So I don't know if they're really a top 5 team looking like this.
I mean, I'm looking at every player who's going to play meaningful minutes. Almost every player who's going to play real minutes has the passer badge.
Yeah.
And I know Dogwood's put together phenomenal offenses in the past, and I think this kind of ball movement, in the absence of a dominant heliocentric star, is gonna, I think, be the recipe for Georgia. And we've seen Dogwood bow out with more talented teams than this.
I guess that's true. Yes.
But I think if the formula,
a real gritty championship like a Bill Self Kansas team. Oh, I'm sorry.
Heck yeah. A Tyler Self Kansas team.
No. No, I really do mean no one's a top talent, but they all work together well. You know what I mean?
Dollar Bill can coach him up.
Oh, absolutely. And then I look at Boston College. What I'm getting out of this is I really want to see Tulane play Boston College. Because they have the tied for best player in the league in Josh Hamilton here.
Yeah, Texas Rangers legend Josh Hamilton
in
his second act.
Not so much an Angels legend, but Texas Rangers legend for sure.
Certainly not. More of a Reds legend than an Angels legend.
Oh boy!
But,
wow. This is also a very good team.
Yeah.
The Ellis Prague of +10 that I saw coming. Really, really is the cherry on top of just so many big guys that can move. That's a scary team.
Yeah, just a ton of length on this team. It's hard to, see a team that could match up with all these guys, and not have some 6'1" guard out there who's going to get taken advantage of, be a team that could actually run its offense competently against wings that can get in the passing lanes and bigs that can just shut it down. So I think Boston College is the team to beat going forward. But yeah, we've gone through just a laundry list of teams that can give them a run for their money. So I'm psyched to see what happens.
Well, I have one more team to mention.
Okay.
We've gone through the top 25, but there is one glaring outlier right now in these talent rankings that we know that it's a player count kind of thing, right?
Right.
Once you scroll all the way down to number 82, Iowa Hawkeyes.
We talking Iowa? Okay.
So Ghost coming in will have 8 visits of some type to put together a bench for this team that is 271s and 270s, a 63 and a 62. If he can put together any of the like 3 DVs on 60 rated players, right? That's a serviceable bench for this team. He's got to win them, but if he does, this is a top 25 team, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think this is an NT contender, but I think if you're Ghost and you can put together like a credible team here, you set yourself up for success.
Yeah, I would suggest that this is maybe a this is definitely an NIT team.
Yeah.
But I think they could scrape a lower seed, like a 6, 7, 8, for sure. If he can put together, he's got 6 open spots. He fills 3 with solid players, then he's good, I think. At least, right?
That would be interesting to see. That would be a coup.
But that was my one big outlier. That's like, okay, this team is getting severely underrated because they only have 7 players right now. Anyone else? Anyone outside of the top 25 that interests you, or?
I'm looking at. There are a few teams with coaches who have the track record to do it, fill out a couple slots, and maybe jump up in these rankings. I think Gag could continue his like storybook cycle at Creighton by adding.
He's got 1 spot left, right?
Yeah, like to see Sola or Ethan do the same thing. I think Doom would
Ethan.
do well.
I was going to say that.
And I think, I think that CPR will like determine sort of like what the back end of the top 25 looks like, and
I see Iowa State with 3 open spots, and they could jump from 34 into a more secure. Preseason, this would be in the NT spot. You know what I mean? Season will happen, but I see 3 spots for Iowa State to fill. It's child's play. Doom's a good writer, so. Okay, I wanted to move next into a quick little buy or sell kind of thing.
Sure.
So, do you want to go first and give me a buy or sell, or you want me to go first?
You can hit me with a buy or sell.
All right. So, Crom, do you buy or sell that VCU will continue their Big 12 conference tournament win streak and make it 4 in a row? Big sell.
I'm selling.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell. I think that just looking at the talent rankings, it's not an overwhelmingly talented Big 12, but TCU is at the top of the heap right now. I think that, having that really good big play that they're going to have, and then getting really good playmaking, I think, from other star players, I think that that's like a recipe for success. And I think that if Loyola took it home, it wouldn't shock me. I know we're both really high on Loyola, but I think that that's another deep team. That's like the product of several good cycles from Tofu, and they could give VCU a real run for their money. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Kansas. I think that.
Well, I don't think that Kansas. I don't think my team has it, but like the je ne sais quoi, to finally to make it through a tournament and win that conference tournament title. But seeding is big for me on a tournament kind of situation, and I wouldn't be surprised if Loyola took home the regular season title and got the number 1 overall seed in that conference tournament. Just based on who they get to play twice, versus who TCU gets to play twice. Some Texas schools versus Illinois and Drake. So, I think I agree with you though. I think VCU will be there, but they'll come up short.
I mean, my heart says TCU. My heart says New Mexico in the Big 12, and my brain says TCU.
Oh, that would be spectacular. I'd love that.
That would be awesome. All right. Well, it sounds like we're of the same mind on VCU's streak coming to an end, and it's still wildly impressive for consecutive
absolutely
conference championships. But I'm curious, do you buy that the Big North and the SEC will have the most bids? Right now, if you just look at pure talent, you see the Big North and the Southeastern Conference pacing the field in terms of top 36 teams. And I'm curious whether you buy that.
Are you suggesting that they would both have the same, or like the same, and that total will be the most, like 9 or like 8 or 9 bids each, or something like that, or?
Yeah, I'd say that they're the two conferences with like number 1 and number 2 in bids, I guess is how it's structured.
I buy that. Especially the SEC, they've put in some work lately. And if you look at the top 6, there's already 3 SEC teams, and they're all pretty scary. Big North, I actually, you know what? I mean, it's half buy and half sell. I think the SEC will have the most bids. I don't think the Big North will. I think it'll just be the SEC. Big North has some very good teams, but I think it's kind of been reduced to a four horse race there. Realistically, if I had to pick a second team or a second conference, it would be the PCC, because they've just got so many teams in like the 15 to 20 range. So does the ACC actually, but PCC's got more up top too. And they're always really good. They're very spread out. So that would be my picks, I think, instead of the Big North. But SEC looks very good this year. I wouldn't be surprised if the champion came out of the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, I think this anticipates sort of the next question, which we had talked about before the pod. And you had asked me, but I'll reiterate. Do you think this is Georgia's year?
I'm selling Georgia. At this point, it's almost a dark humor kind of thing. Oh, Georgia lost the first round again.
That's brutal.
They look very good, but I don't think they look that good. And so I'm going to sell them. I don't think this is their year, but they will be up there, and I'd love to be wrong. So
I think
if I stay in the SEC, do you buy or sell that Florida will have the best defense in the league for the second year running?
I am just looking at this roster. There's no one who isn't just an elite defender, and I think that there's something to be said for the rest of the league sort of like catching on to this like Link, Walter, clock strategy of just stockpiling athletes and guys with insane defensive IQs. I shout out Pi and Pico. Mm-hmm. Love that strategy. But I think that as is, like, nobody does it better than Pork at Georgia right now. And I think, coming off the best defensive year in like recorded history
in recent memory, at the very least, since expansion.
Yeah, I'm taking Florida over the field, and that pains me because I tried to put together a defense that's good. I didn't do it, and I think that makes them just really scary for any individual matchup and real contenders to take home the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I haven't tried to emulate some of this team building strategy as well. Last cycle, the center I really wanted was Bruinsma, who was just an insane defender out of, what was he, Georgia, right?
Yep.
At just the prototypical Pork player. High defensive IQ, high rebounding, insanely athletic. And, of course, my guy, Siakos, was 100 in all 3 athletic categories. And it works, but and since everyone's catching on to, this is almost like a Moneyball-like strategy, right? Where everyone's kind of figuring it out slowly after the progenitors of the strategy have used it for a while. But, no one does it better than Billy Bean, sort of. And I guess Pork would be Billy Bean in this scenario. He's got a really, really, really scary team. And, I mean, we're seeing people doing these test sims where, yet again, Florida has just this insane, no one shoots over a certain percentage on threes against him. Nobody shoots over 50% from the floor. Like, that's crazy numbers. And that'll take you to a championship. So, I mean, do you want to actually start talking about that? Do you have any picks on, like, who you think the conference champions would be, for example, this year?
Yeah, I guess, I'll shoot from the hip. If you want reasoned, logical analysis, get it from Saw. But if you want just punditry, I'm your guy.
Absolutely.
So
Pundit it up.
All right, so I guess you want to go conference by conference
Yeah,
and
sure.
sort of give our individual picks. I mean, Wake Forest did real work in the offseason, as did Virginia in the ACC. But I think I got to go with Boston College, just looking at that roster. It's a juggernaut.
Oh, yeah. I think I'll agree with that. Virginia, that's tough. That's a tough question, but Boston College, it's hard not to. They're far and away better than Virginia on paper. Anything can happen, but I think they're going to pull it out this year. That's not a controversial opinion, I feel like. If I went to Big 12, I just did the Tribune article on the previews, and like I said earlier, I think I'm going to give it to Loyola on the conference champions. But yeah, absolutely, TCU is right there. They're really similar teams, actually. I think Loyola has a tiny bit more depth, but TCU has a better top-end player. But I would go to Loyola just because I think they can get a top seed higher, and that could be the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I hear your argument with Loyola. I'm going to take TCU. I want to see just Woody spamming Austin Young, Mike Severe pick and rolls until the conference just folds. I love the all Texas angle. Huge fan of Woody.
It's a very athletic Bilbao style team building approach.
Oh, love the EuroLeague references. That's phenomenal. The soccer fans are gonna kill me. But that is also a basketball team, so I'm gonna stand by it. But yeah, Bilbao's got all the Basque guys. But hey, I can do one sport at once, max.
Understood. I'll keep it to this.
Yeah. One. So you want to go to the SEC, get some home cooking from me?
SEC, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I think it's Tulane or Florida, and I'll probably give it to Florida, just because they tend to play above their talent rating, and they're just so good this year, like on paper, and just going off of previous trends where they play above their talent. They might just be the best team in the league.
Yeah.
Just we don't
know
I can
see it
for sure.
I think speaking of teams,
I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Speaking of teams that play above their talent, I think Houston has a real shot at this. I think Houston actually profiles to have a phenomenal defense. And Saw's just been sort of stockpiling these guys who can shoot it and defend. And I think that could get a lot of variance going for him. He's obviously an underdog, but I don't think to the degree that the discourse would suggest. And I think if it's possible for Georgia sitting at number 2 to be overlooked, I think they have been. And I think this is still a phenomenal team. And who's honestly surprised if Dogwood takes home another SEC title? Not me.
Okay, let's move to Big North. I suggested it was maybe a 4-horse race earlier. Would you agree with that? Is it less or is it more?
Well, you've got Purdue, Xavier, Indiana, and
then there's a big jump, and then there's Creighton.
Yeah, it's a 3-horse race for me.
3 horse. Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
so too. It's pretty close though between Purdue and Xavier. Um, and I mean, hard to go against Plock here. But I mean, Xavier was a historically good team last year, and they've returned a bunch of guys, and they've reloaded a little bit. So I'm going to have to go with Xavier for the Big North.
I was thinking Xavier as well. I think I'm going to have to pick him too. I think that Purdue obviously has that just incredible stable of bigs. But Xavier's no slouch for bigs either, and I think you look at Jared Johnson, he's one of the best players in the league, and if he can get it going, I think he can outduel anybody Purdue has. But obviously, it's you get a little pit in your stomach picking against Plock.
Right.
Yeah.
And then finally, we go to the Pacific Coast Conference. Almost kind of a down year. Would you say that?
Yeah. I'm looking at UCLA and Gonzaga, and they're
it's a bit of a gap.
Characteristically stellar. But this is the top end talent is somewhat lacking. How crazy would a Texas Tech sort of like zombie run be?
Well, I mean, Texas Tech just got a coach, so maybe.
Oh well, I'm sorry,
maybe.
There,
I don't know. No decisions have been made apparently, but for me, UCLA should walk over this league. They are, as some are saying, streets ahead. So that's a really, really scary team, and that they, I think, can break out. They're good enough that they can break out of the everyone in the PCC beats everyone else doldrums that they're always in. And UCLA, easy 1 seed for me, I think. I think they'll just kind of walk all over this league.
Yeah, if they're like 19-3 in the PCC, it'd be hard not to give it to them.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, if you don't know your streets behind, and I'll pick the Bruins there too. Though probably not over the field. I think we're coming up on the hour mark.
Yeah,
and
I think we've actually passed it a little bit. But
all right.
Any final thought? Any players you think might be Player of the Year candidates?
You've
got 2 on your team, so you may want to mention them.
That's going to cut against him, I think. I think if you've got 2 guys
share minutes and
yeah,
it could be. I don't know.
And I think with Hamilton playing on such a stacked BC team, sign me up for Tyrone Mosley, doing the Freshman of the Year, Player of the Year thing. Just phenomenally talented. Should score a ton on a good Virginia team, and if he leads that team in assists too, and plays solid defense, that's a pretty compelling case. So I think that's kind of my pick for both. But I'm curious what you think.
I do really like Mosley, the number 1. He could very, very well win Freshman and Player of the Year, just overall Player of the Year. Mosley's a really good player. Got a real nice prog, and is the top option without anyone else terribly near him on one of the best schools in the nation. I do like that as a possibility. Josh Hamilton, Jared Johnson, BC and Xavier respectively, also very scary top players on good teams. I wish I could say. Actually, I do really like Mike. It's either Sevier or Severe on TCU. I really like his chances as well. He's got a lot of badges over here, and I mean, you can say you don't need no stinking badges, but he's got a lot of them. And playing in what I think most people would say is a weaker league, in general, in the Big 12. He'll go off a couple of.
I would love to see Brad.
I wish I could say that my guy Ogwine is gonna do well. He's a little lower on the overalls, but he's kind of specialized.
Look at that offensive IQ. So. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
if Brad Bradley drags UConn to the tournament, he's got to get some serious consideration. He's just a great pure point guard.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
With just a crazy layup package, it looks like.
Yep, another 100 IQ, 100 offensive IQ
Heck yeah.
gang member, along with Anthony Pritchard at Wake. Is he one of the? Is he one of the GTs?
Big Wake guy.
No, he's been awake the whole 4 years.
Just a sniper.
Well, very nice. I don't know if that means that.
Yeah. We're gonna say Bags recruited him. Yeah.
That's a good player. So yeah, I mean, it's shaping up to be a real nice season. You have any final thoughts?
No, I mean, go outside, NCBCA.
It's almost over. Yeah, just vote on the rec poll. Have a picnic
and
or something.
please scream at us in the chat if we neglected to mention everything. Till then.
Absolutely. Yeah, like, subscribe, whatever. I don't even know if we have those, but do whatever you got to do. We'll have more podcast content. As of right this second, it may have already dropped. More may have already dropped. I think we got 3 of the 5 conference previews up on the Tribune. Check those out. We're usually posting them in the news, #news section on the Discord. Please, if you like the Tribune stuff, keep supporting us. We enjoy it. We enjoy writing it. So thanks for joining me, Crom. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you as well. And yeah, have a great night, NCBCA. Go outside. Bye-bye.